Hello and welcome to the Ethereum blockchain intro for Techies. Short little event here that we're doing just to get folks introduced to what Ethereum is. And we'll talk about some terms and terminology like blockchain and Dapps and Solidity and terms you may have heard of. But let's put it all together. So I'm Joe Holbrook. I'm a consulting architect and technical trainer, cryptocurrency enthusiast and trader, also a certified Bitcoin professional, also an AWS partner. I am out of Jacksonville, Florida. So let's go ahead and get into the details here. So we're going to be defining Ethereum and what exactly is Ethereum and what the history of it is as well. We're going to talk about what a cryptocurrency is, and we'll talk about what a blockchain is. And then also, too, I think it's important to get into what Bitcoin is, but also what Ethereum is, because there's a lot of confusion out there that Bitcoin and Ethereum are cryptocurrencies, and that really is not true. So let's go ahead and really dive into the main differences. We'll talk about decentralization, smart contracts, and encryption. We'll then talk about Solidity, which is a programming language. We'll talk about Ethereum virtual machines, the EVM. Then we'll talk about some programs of interest out there, areas that show some good promise around Ethereum. And then we'll talk about how to buy Ethereum, or Ether as it would be called, and we'll talk about what that is. So again, just briefly, I'm out of Jacksonville, Florida, technical trainer. I've been in the cloud computing and data storage areas for over 15 years. So not to date myself there. Also very active into cryptocurrency. So basically Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dash, and also Ripple to a degree. Certified Bitcoin professional with C4. Also former background in communications and IT security as well. So before we talk about Ethereum, it's important to define what a blockchain is. And so a blockchain is a globally shared data structure. It's a transactional backend database. Now, if you compare that to Bitcoin, it's essentially a ledger for those folks that understand what a ledger is. And if you have a database background, that, of course, is fairly straightforward as well. Now, what that means is that everybody can read the entries in the database by participating in the network. Now, if you want to change something in the database, you generally need to create a transaction, and it has to be accepted by everyone else. And so a transaction implies that when you want to make a change, essentially you have to do all the change or nothing is done at all. So essentially it's all or nothing. Furthermore, your transaction, when it's applied to the database, it is non-repeatable, and non-repeatable means that you can't alter it. It is also time-stamped and has a full history. So what is Ethereum? So Ethereum is an open blockchain. Now, there's other blockchains out there, of course. There's also different versions of Ethereum, but for this intro, I'll go into just Ethereum as a whole, and later when we have more time, we'll get more into the different versions of blockchains and Ethereum. So Ethereum is essentially an open blockchain platform. Anyone can build and use it. It is decentralized. And the term here, dApps, it's important to understand what a dApp is. It is a decentralized application. And if you read anything about Ethereum, you're going to see that term quite a bit. So when we compare it to Bitcoin, essentially no one owns it at all. It is a open platform. Now the Ethereum project, they essentially monitor it. It's a project that has some supervision essentially, but it's being built by people around the world. So it's not like it's being built by one entity per se. It's many people volunteering their time, some getting paid, but the majority of people are still volunteers. Unlike Bitcoin, Ethereum was designed to be adaptable and flexible. So again, just realize that's another difference. So Ethereum is a platform. It is not a cryptocurrency. So again, we're going to get more into that here in the next few slides. Overall, Ethereum is safe to develop on. So if you're a basic programmer, like Java, JSON, PHP, this will be your game. So let's go ahead and expand on the definition of Ethereum, because I don't feel the book definition per se does a great job. So let's go ahead and expand on it and really get an idea of what Ethereum is. So Ethereum is essentially a planetary scale computer network. So you've got thousands and thousands of nodes around the world essentially working together, crunching problems and solving problems essentially in a consensus approach. And we'll talk about what that is as well. Ethereum does not go down nor is exposed to interference. So again, you could affect a couple nodes that should not bring the Ethereum blockchain down. That's the main point of it. Ethereum does use secure cryptography. It is also transparent. We'll talk more about that as well. It is widely accepted for Dapps, so decentralized apps. Remember that term we just talked about. It is a consensus-forming algo. So it's an algorithm for those folks that may not know what algo means. It is essentially also a decentralized application, and it runs on Ether. So for example, to be able to build and run an application, you need to have fuel. So again, you got to fill your car with gas, and so Ether is essentially known as gas. So you don't go out and buy, per se, Ethereum. You go out and buy Ether, and this is where some of the confusion comes in as well. So we'll talk more about it. It is a proof-of-stake technology. Again, that's coming with the new release. It's called Solidity. It is fast and efficient. As far as when we discuss some of the numbers around Ethereum, there's over 60 million Ether minted for the contributors. So essentially this was the pre-sale folks that had worked on it. There is 12 million plus created for the development fund. So the developers and contributors did get some funding to continue the cause. Now here's an interesting factoid. There's 5 ethers that are created for every block. So every block basically is going to create around 5 ethers, which is pretty interesting. So about every 15 or 17 seconds, that goes to the miner of the block. So essentially there's this problem solving capability where the miners essentially are going to try to do these mathematical problem solving exercises, and again we will talk more about that in another session. Also too, a couple ethers, so 2 or 3, it's not an exact number, are generally sent to miners who try to find a solution, but the block wasn't included, and that's considered an aunt and uncle reward. So what Ethereum is not. So Ethereum is not faster than most databases. Actually, it's many times slower. Ethereum is not anonymous, nor is it privacy friendly overall. And again, that's because of the structure of the blockchain, and we'll talk more about that. It is, still not really a mature platform in the sort of the deep sense, but at a wide sense, it's clearly ready for production and development in some sense. Uh, Ethereum is not a cryptocurrency, so just realize that again. Ethereum originally was sort of thought to be like the all sort of fintech solution. However, it clearly is not perfect for all fintech. It is sort of slow compared to a lot of databases. We'll talk about the EVM as well. But overall, it's a really great solution, being that it is a decentralized consensus approach. Ethereum also is not an easy platform to develop on. It is open. So again, depending on who you talk to, some people think it's easy, some people don't. However, if you use Solidity, for example, it's a pretty confined platform, and thus we'll talk about Solidity, how you're pretty limited to registers and syntaxes, etc. So it's easy in the sense that it's easy to understand. It's just not easy to really make an application that is going to work pretty rapidly. So let's talk about Ethereum versus Bitcoin. Now, this is a question I get quite a bit. And again, there's plenty of confusion. I've read articles where the people refer to Ethereum as a cryptocurrency, and they don't even mention that it's actually a decentralized application platform, and they think it's actually a currency, where technically Ether is the currency. Now, Bitcoin is a blockchain-based system, and essentially it is a digital currency. And so it was built to create a way to transmit value digitally. Now, Ethereum is a blockchain smart contract platform, and the tokens that you send, the currency, is actually considered Ether. And that's one of the differences that you can always tell someone that's actually competent in Ethereum that they understand at least that basic principle right there. Another way to look at the difference is that Ethereum is a worldwide platform, and thus it's distributed. The nodes are distributed. The code runs in a distributed, decentralized approach. And essentially, to be able to use it, you need to have fuel, and that is Ether. That is the token, Ethereum token. So again, Ether sometimes is referred to as fuel, as gas, as a token. Again, if you got that, then that's a great start. So when we look at Ethereum, just realize it's a worldwide platform for creating distributed apps. Again, it's a worldwide platform for creating dApps. It is not a currency. It is not a token. Now, to be able to create these apps and actually have the blockchain run these dApps, you need to have Ether to be able to do that. So again, that is essentially the high level. Here's how it works. Now, Bitcoin is also a way to settle transactions, and essentially has nothing to do with, per se, running code. So just realize that these are really two different things. So what is a smart contract? Now, a smart contract is essentially where you're going to essentially develop essentially a process to facilitate, verify, enforce some kind of a contract. And so however that contract is. So let's say the contract is essentially for trading a currency. So essentially you could do that. Or let's say it's for trading electricity. Or let's say the contract is for trading a service for a fee or something of that nature. or let's say it's a legal land transfer as well. These are some of the projects that are actually in work to be able to do this. So again, a smart contract, it's important to understand that a smart contract is a way to facilitate, verify, and enforce the performance of a contract. Now, when we talk about a contract in the sense of Solidity, now Solidity is the programming language. This is essentially how you would develop a dApp with an Ethereum blockchain. And so basically it's a language, it's got a collection of functions and data, and essentially it's going to reside in the blockchain. Now, you again can write a smart contract in Solidity, but you could also use some other languages as well, like Triple L, Mutant, and Serpent. Also, for those folks that aren't familiar with those, these are pretty similar to JavaScript, Python, Lisp, and Go, for example. So a lot of folks are very familiar with JavaScript. If you know JavaScript, you're going to do pretty well with Solidity, for example. So if you want to know more about Solidity, you can, of course, go to the GitHub. The GitHub is located here. So if you want to go to the Ethereum GitHub, you essentially would go to ethereum.github.io. And again, you go over to files. You go over and view some of the code. This is, again, just one example of the link you could click. Go over to documents as well. And this is giving you all the information that you would likely need to know to get started. So this is the Ethereum link. This is the changelog link. And again, this is the Stack Exchange. So again, I won't spend a lot of time going through all this, but I wanted to at least point you in the right direction. So that is the GitHub for that. And also, too, there's a nice little intro for smart contracts, Solidity, how to use a compiler, and FAQ, for example, as well. So again, if you're looking to do some programming with this is a really good start. So Solidity is a high-level language similar to JavaScript. It is designed to compile code. And so it is basically, if you're familiar with machine language or familiar with developing apps, this is, again, going to be fairly simple. One of the challenges, though, with Solidity is that it generally does shield the programmer. So Solidity, again, does limit a lot of variables. So registers, strings, and values, for example, are limited. So this basically helps a programmer from getting in trouble. So this is like a container, essentially, that you'll be focused on. Now, Ethereum has what's called an EVM. This is called the Ethereum Virtual Machine. So the Ethereum Virtual Machine was created specifically to process transactions, to run the blockchain, on the blockchain. So again, this is what the VM is for. It's a 256-bit VM. You're going to execute the Ethereum Virtual Machine bytecode. So again, this is called opcode, and it is a distributed code as well. So sometimes you'll see bytecode referred to as opcode, especially with Ethereum. And then the transaction smart contracts and dApps as well. So EVM is part of the Ethereum protocol, and it does play a crucial role in consensus. So consensus being what? That means that all the other nodes need to agree that this is a valid transaction, essentially. Now, EVM, like any other virtual machine, does have overhead. So this is, not one of the more efficient ways to execute transactions or the bytecode. But the benefit is that it is efficient. So you can, move this around fairly straightforward. EVM was built for Ether to process transactions. And you can compare this essentially to the Java virtual machine as well. So again, a Java programmer will do pretty well with this and will ramp up very easily. So what are some of the programs of interest? So what are we seeing? What is going on in the Ethereum project area? So I wanted to at least show you one or two of these. One is called Augur. So this is sort of interesting. This is using a decentralized platform like Ethereum to essentially, predict events, essentially real-world events. So basically, this is sort of working on like a trading platform where people basically, essentially, try to forecast events and basically like predict who's going to win a game or predict what the stock market's going to be here and then. This is what the platform could be used for. It's for forecasting. So this is called Augur. So this is definitely an interesting platform to look at. And then another one is called Golem. Now, Golem is essentially a worldwide supercomputer. And again, this is a cool project where, again, it's working on a decentralized approach. And the goal is to essentially have a way to lease out computer power, to rent out computer power, I guess is a way to say it. And sort of like taking the IBM Watson approach, essentially, but on a larger scale with a lot, smaller nodes, essentially, to be able to compute problems out with some kind of a solution. So again, a pretty neat little project. And then the last one I'll cover is Transactive Grid. Now this is essentially an energy platform that is being built. Isn't a whole lot of information, but again, it is out there basically for a peer-to-peer approach. And lastly, let me just show you the link here. This is called dapps.ethercast.com. Now, again, okay, the site's down, so let's forget it. But take a look at it when it's up, and that would be an interesting site. That's essentially a site that lists all the current projects that you could take a look at. So let's talk about buying Ether. Now, Ether is essentially gas for the Ethereum blockchain. Some of the sites you go to is Coinbase, for example, and you go and purchase Ether there. Now, Coinbase, you could go ahead and buy Bitcoin, or you could go ahead and purchase Ether as well. Kraken, Circle, CX.io, and CoinHouse are some good examples there. And so I'm in my dashboard right now in one of my accounts, and you can see that I sold Bitcoin there. I sold Ethereum also. And what's cool about this is you go to Ethereum here, and this tells you the current price. You go to Bitcoin, you go ahead and tells you the price as well. So you could manage your Ether and your Bitcoin all in one account with this. And then you could go ahead and send as well. Again, a lot of it just depends on how well your networking is or what is going on. Okay, and so that's the price of Ether as of actually yesterday. It's up about 145%. So that's about all that I had around Ether, Ethereum, blockchain for today. There is actually a formal course being developed. This is going to be approximately a 6-hour course around Ethereum that I will be releasing here through a few different entities that I will mention when everything is firmed up. But looking forward to hopefully working with some of you again in the future here. Thanks again for joining, and if there's any questions, feel free to reach out. Have a great day. Over and out.